to see you.
Yeah.
Rock, long time no see, brother.
Still here, good.
Yeah. Stallion's back. Hey,
It's like a party here.
yeah, right. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you very much.
How's it feel?
Good.
We making a comeback?
No.
Hey, Chip.
Hey, Breed, what's up?
Didn't know you were coming back.
Well, with that introduction of the beginning of the movie Creed with Sylvester Stallone, I actually have to thank so much for a fellow that I met about a month ago back when I was back in Philadelphia, Joey I, who's involved with boxing and movie making, everything in the Philadelphia area. And he's granted me the permission to make his initial podcast, his official YouTube page, and everything boxing and movies with Joey I. So, Joey, thank you so much for this opportunity and welcome to the world of podcasting, my friend.
Oh, thank you and welcome for even thinking of me. This is great.
Well, why don't we begin at the beginning? We had a little talk before we went live about what your background would be. I have some pictures, a couple little things, but why don't you take us back, when this bug of boxing and obviously and how you ended up getting into the movie end of it, how it all started.
Yeah, well, I was born at a very young age. But no, I was born and I was adopted by a very nice family in Philadelphia. And but I was a little kid, and in the neighborhood I grew up in, it was very, very, very tough neighborhood. I mean, everything was about being tough. And I had a lot of trouble, I was bullied a lot, as they say, back then you didn't call it bullying. I don't know what you called it, but just got picked on a lot. And I was really, really little kid. And I was just a happy-go-lucky kid. The only thing I did was I ran track when I was little. I didn't even want to play baseball.
What neighborhood? Actually, I know in Philly, like said.
I've lived all over the city in my lifetime. And that's the thing. A lot of people claim me from different areas. But when I was little and I grew up in Olney, which is like in the west section of Philly. And it was mostly when I was little, it became actually at this point right now, it's the most diverse area in Philadelphia. They've got everything. But when I was
in South Philly though.
No, I lived in South Philly. As soon as I was out of high school, I was in South Philly.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of people go, oh yeah, so think I grew up there. No, but I had been there a lot. Yeah, when I was young. So then but if people think people think Germantown, Chestnut Hill, because I have family in Germantown and Chestnut Hill. So everybody was like, where, and I lived in East Oak Lane at one point. So I lived like all over the city. And but yeah, in Olney, it was mostly like Irish and German, all big. And I was this little curly haired kid. They didn't even know what an Italian was. So I got picked on a lot, like I said. And if I wasn't in 2 fights a day, if I was only in one, I was lucky. It was a good day. But I would get beat up a lot, and I didn't want anything to do with fighting. And I had a friend who was going to the boxing gym. He went to the Kensington Ramblers gym, and the bigger kids every day after school thought it was cute and funny to have him practice his boxing on me. And he was actually a little smaller than me because he was maybe a year or two younger. But here we are, we're friends, and he's beating me around, and then we're walking home, and he's saying, "Hey, why don't you come to the gym?" And I'm thinking, why would I want to do that? I'm going to get beat up there. I'm walking home like this, and but and even my father had said, you come home and I'm all beat up all the time, and he said, maybe we'll take you down to the boxing gym. And I'm like, I don't want to fight, and I really had no interest in it whatsoever. And other than I like to watch it on TV a little bit, my father, let me watch. The first fight he let me watch was in 1975, was in March of 75. Chuck Wepner fought Muhammad Ali, which was the backdrop for, the inspiration for Rocky. And I kind of liked it. I kind of saw, I saw a lot of the blood with Chuck because he was the Bayonne bleeder. But, I watched it on TV, but I didn't want to fight. But a movie production company came to my school when I was about 9, almost 10 years old, and they were picking all the athletes to run in a movie. And they got the football players, the baseball, the basketball players, and they came to me and they said, "What do you play?" So I don't play anything. They said, why? They said, "You were an athlete." I said, "I run track." And they're like, "Oh, you want to run with Rocky?" I was like, "Sure." and I got the chance. And I mean, I thought he was real. I thought, I'm like, this is great, and so we went down there and spent all morning, all day, all night till it got dark, and we were running down the Parkway and up and down those 72 steps, because that's a trivia question that people get asked. There are 72 steps at the art museum, and my little legs kept getting me up there first, and everybody wanted to get to him, and I was like one point pressed right up against him, and I just he reached down, picked me up, put me on his shoulders. And he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I said, "Oh my God," and I always tell people he put me down because I probably peed on him, but but he he just put me down and cut, and and I just thought,
I
oh
have
my
a little video when I saw you a month ago describing this with the two pictures. I'm going to play that.
full circle. 9 years old, and then I don't know, 40-something years old, about 48 there. But, so I went from the movie that made me want to be a fighter to where the movie that I played myself, and they're both Rocky films. So kind of my whole world came full circle. Yeah, well, yeah.
I love Tulsa King.
Yeah. So
That's a little video of that.
So I ran home that day, and I said to my father, "Now I want to fight." My father said, "Okay, great." Because I'm thinking to myself, I said, I'm Italian, I'm left-handed, I'm small, I want to be just like Rocky. And I told Stallone, I didn't fight too much better. I said, like I said, where I grew up, it was about being tough. So it was like, take 3 to throw 1, or, take 5 to throw 1, just as long as you got something good in there. And, 31 broken noses later, and I didn't get this face eating Cheerios. I wasn't born this ugly. I was a cute kid. But so my father took me down to the gym, and, like they say, the rest is history. A friend of mine who was a really good lightweight fighter, Anthony Boyle from the Kensington area. His father was my trainer. He was his trainer at the time too. He ran the gym, and I just fell in love with it, and never really looked back. And boxing was keeping me kind of out of trouble, and helped me to like not get bullied so much, because once they find out you're boxing, even if they still could beat you up, they don't want to look, they don't want to get embarrassed, especially by the little guy. Like I always say, it'd be very embarrassing to get knocked out by a midget. But so I stayed with it, through the years. Even though I played other sports, football, baseball, all that, as I was getting older, but boxing was always like I had a love for it, and it was an amateur, and then I became a professional. I had an injury. I blew my knee out, and was like kind of lost at that point. Like, what do I do now? And because, you spend all these years doing this, and, you're, you get up early in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, you go run 5 miles, you go to work, you come home, you get cleaned up, you go back to the gym, you're in there, you're working out, you're sparring, you're going to other gyms, you got fights coming up, all that was like kind of lost. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And, my wife, who was really just still my only my girlfriend at the time, so we're going back like 30 years, because next week we'll be married 30 years. But her and my father both said, "Didn't you say you wanted to be something like you wanted to be a cut man when you were done fighting?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And I said, "I did it a couple times before I even turned professional as a fighter for a couple friends, worked their corners, stopped." They said, "Well, all the guys that, the guys who, can teach you." So there were 3 guys that I really learned a lot from. One of them was a guy named Adolf Rataco. They called him Little AB. People think he's my grandfather because we look exactly the same size, same everything. But he used to teach me from a bar stool in a corner bar. He'd tell me stories, tell me this and that. And then there was another guy named Stan the Cut Man. He was a fireman from Philly, and used to go to where he worked at the fire station, 4th and Snyder in South Philly, and he would talk to me about stuff and teach me this, and then there was Eddie Aliano. They called him the Clot, and he was like the most legendary guy, cut man ever. And I would go and I'd see him in the gym or at the fights and whatever, and so I learned little bits from each one of them, and about grabbing hands and all the other stuff, and and when it was my time, I as they say, I hung my shingle out, and I went out and became a cut man, and I was the house cut man at the Blue Horizon for over 10 years until they closed it down. I've traveled all over the world as a cut man. And at the same time that I was doing all this, when the fighting for me had to stop, I also started getting some opportunities to be in movies. And I hadn't really done anything since I was a little kid when I ran with Rocky. But when I was in the gym for Rocky 5, they came around picking people, and I think I walked in and I was wearing a hat like this. So I came in from work, I was doing cement work, and Stallone was there, and he's picking people and all these heavyweights to fight Tommy Gunn in the movie. And then he goes, yeah, we'll take him. And I was like, whoa, I'm a lightweight. I'm not a heavyweight. And he said, no, we'll use you as a corner man in the corner. And so in Rocky 5, like, I'm in it, but you barely see me. I think you only see like top of my eyes and my hat or something. But, and I was in Rocky Balboa too. But over the years, like, it just opened up doors for me where I, got opportunities to be in movies. I mean, you're not going to see me play a doctor or anything, but I've been in like a lot of mob movies and prison movies and boxing movies, and I'm typecast. What are you going to do? But it's easy. Some of the easiest stuff I've ever done, and it's exciting. You get to, just like with fighting, you travel around, you meet interesting people. You get to be immortalized on the movie screens, and with it, like during that time too, it also fell into it. One of the things I got into being a professional wrestler. Somebody talked me into that. And I always say, don't turn anything down. One door closes, another one opens. Take the opportunity. The worst you can say is that it didn't work out. But but again, that was a situation where Rocky kind of came into that one. They wanted me to be a Rocky character, as if Rocky became a pro wrestler. So I wore the fedora and the gloves with no fingers and the leather jacket and the gray sweatshirt. And instead of the Italian Stallion, I was the Palermo Pony. And I get thrown around by big guys like King Kong Bundy and Jimmy Snook and this and that. And somehow they'd start playing the Rocky music. I'm getting beat up, and I come back somehow. And, I'm choking out a 400-pound guy, So it's entertainment, as they call it, But it was great because it was the combination of fighting and acting, and I did it for a while. But man, even though it's there, the outcome and this and that, you can really, really, really get hurt. And I got hurt way worse doing that than I ever did boxing. But as it came, and then when I was also doing a tribute to Evel Knievel about 20 years ago, where I would jump over 5 cars to a ring of fire. And I was called the Evil Eye. And I would actually do it on some of the boxing events that someone was putting on. And so I'd be working the corner as a cut man. And then they say, hey, there's Joe. He's working in the corner. Stick around after the fights. Go out in the parking lot. Joe's going to risk his neck. He's going to jump over 5 cars to a ring of fire. And I would go out there and do that. But that led to me people saw some of that, and I was able to do stunts in certain movies and things like that, like car chases and jumping out of windows and motorcycle stuff. So like I said, one door opens, one door closes, another one opens, so so over the years I've just been doing everything that I'm doing. I've been in so many movies, and a lot of them never make it off the cutting room floor, the whole movie, but I've got numerous credits in a lot of movies, and it's like I said, if it wasn't for boxing, I probably wouldn't have ever gotten those opportunities of the other things I just said that I did. So but we over the years, as I've been involved, I've done everything. I've been a promoter, a manager, a matchmaker, a trainer. I owned 7 gyms over the years. Everything, and I also work cage fights and Muay Thai fights. You name it. If they get their hands wrapped and they bleed, I'm there. And I don't judge anybody. I don't know whether they belong in there, they don't belong in there. I don't care what their record is, what color you are, what day you go to church. None of that matters to me. The blood's red, the money's green. My 2 favorite colors, and it's not because I'm Italian. Yeah. So, over the, I've bought Hall of Fames, 15-time Cut Man of the Year in Pennsylvania, to the point where now it's given to somebody else for the past 7 years. I helped to pick it out, and it picked the person that gets it, and it's called the Joey Eye Award, which is a big honor because I'm not dead.
So wasn't that the one I just put up there, Atlantic City Hall of Fame?
Yeah, that was with Atlantic City back in 2021. Yeah, that was a big honor. My God, there was so many because they combined, I think, 2 or 3 years together because of the pandemic. And my God, there was. I mean, I went in there with guys like Roy Jones Jr. You know, and it was Kelly Pavlik, Al Cole. There was just so many. You know, I felt like I didn't belong up there. You know, I'm like, you know, standing up there in a line with all these like big time guys, and I just because to me it's just I'm just doing my job. I go out there, I do what I have to do. You know, it's a weird job, but you have, you know, I guess you kind of got to be like a vampire or something. You got to love the blood, you know, and I do. I want guys to bleed. I know they don't want to hear this. Nobody, you know, nobody ever wants to hear that. You know, yeah, I want your fighter to bleed, you know, because I want to do my job. I didn't just come there to rub grease on somebody's face, you know. And I'm funny that way too. You know, I come home and my wife say, "Oh, how were the fights?" They sucked. Why? Nobody got cut. Yeah, it's because I want to go and I want to do my job and I want, you know, and I got a love for blood when I was young. I worked for a little bit in a funeral home, and you know, we bring bodies in and do whatever, or maybe mow the lawn, whatever. But you know, I catch glimpses here and there when they be working on people and you know, opening them up and everything like that. And I thought it was kind of neat. And they were trying to groom me and a friend of mine to be funeral directors, but that part was definitely not for me. I think I'm a little too loud, flamboyant, and my personality is not the right one to be a funeral director. But my friend did wind up doing it, and he wound up, I think it was he married a girl or something in Michigan or something, whose family had a funeral home also, and he wound up owning a funeral home, a big one out there somewhere like that. But yeah, but you know, as I say, every garbage can has a lid. You know, everybody has their niche. But mine was, I was more interested in the blood, the bleeding, and the swelling. I mean, when I was a kid, and I used to go to places like, you know, the Blue Horizon, and was a little kid, and I'd look down over in the balcony because we always sit at the top in the balcony, like right at the edge. And I'd be watching the guys in the corner more than I was watching the fights, and I'd be thinking they were like doctors. You know, I'm watching guys like Eddie Aliano and all, and Stan the Cut Man. I'm looking down and I'm watching. And I'm thinking, man, these guys, they're sturdy, important guys. And as a little kid, that sounds funny, like because a little kid saying that, but the little kid was smart, was telling the truth. The most important person in the corner is the cut man. And I'm not saying it because that's me, but that's what I do. But it is. If you don't have a good cut man in the corner, referee, doctor, you know, they come in, they see some guy just over there rubbing some guy's cut with a dry rag, and they're going to be like, and they can't stop it. They're going to go, well, you know what? And I've seen it happen too. Guys can be winning every round, but they're bleeding like a stuck pig. Nothing's being really done about it, or somebody, because there's too many people out there that, you know, they get a hold of the different medicines. The only 3 ones that we're allowed to use, they get a hold of one of them and they think, oh, and I got a towel, so now I'm a cut man. You know, and but you got to apply your trade. You got to learn. And a lot of it is on the job learning. And you just don't play. You don't play boxing. It's a business, and this is a life and death business.
So there was actually no school or anything you had to learn.
No, I learned from those guys that taught me, as you know, because they were willing to teach me.
There's no certificate that you were competent in what you were doing.
No, you just get a license from the State Athletic Commission. It says, it doesn't even say cut man. It just says second. You're in the corner. So I could probably get you a corner license tomorrow. You know what I mean? You want to be? So. Yeah. No, I'm just saying.
I know, a little bit to be there would be nice, but
that's the problem. You know, there's too much that, you know, there should be some
regulation.
Yeah. I mean, I see it all the time. I get guys sometimes, they'll say, man, we really got lucky. What we get lucky for? Nobody got cut. I went, no. You got lucky, not me. I'm pissed off. I wanted people to get caught. You're lucky because if you would have got, you know, exposed as a fraud. You're worried that somebody's going to get cut. This is not it for you. It's definitely not for you. And I've seen guys that come and go that are like trainers that figure, well, I'm going to be the trainer and I'm going to be the cut man. And which I have done myself when I had my own. I've had guys that are my own fighters, but there's guys that think they're going to, and then they come to me at other times and say, yeah, nah, that ain't for me. I don't like blood. I don't like any of that shit. I thought it was going to be easy, and it's not. But it's easy for people that love it. You know, I had an old trainer of mine. His name was Mickey Rosati, and he just passed away not long ago. He was probably about, I think, almost 90 years old. And when I first started, I was at his gym in South Philly, and he said, you know, you're going to be great at this. And I said to him, how do you know? I said, I just started. And he said, no. He said, you can be good at something and not like it, but you can't be great at something if you don't love it. And he said, you love it. He said, you're going to be great. And I, you know, and he would come down to fight sometimes when he was still, you know, still alive and everything. And I'd see him, and he said, I told you. And I said, yeah, well, you're right. I do. I love it. I'm not saying I'm great at it, but I know my business. I know my job. And like I said, it's taken me all over the world. I've been to so many different countries and cities up and down the East Coast, out West Coast, middle of the country. Like, you know, somebody else pays to send you there. You make a few bucks, and like, again, you meet people. You know, I've been to other countries where people walk up and they know who I am, and I'm going, you know, is there a candid camera here or something? Like somebody joking with me? And no, people, you know, they pay attention. And like I said, and to be inducted in all these 4 different Hall of Fames, I mean, that's such an honor, because it's the job I have is kind of one of those, like, nobody pays any mind to you until something bad happens. And then it's like, oh, that's where you're on the spot. So that's why I treat every fight like it's the first one. I treat every guy like it's a world championship fight. I don't care if you're 0-10 or 100-0. I don't care if we're working on Showtime or HBO or any of the other stuff, pay-per-views, you know, or in a back alley in a barroom fight. It doesn't matter to me. Like I said, the blood's red, the money's green.
I'm just adding another picture here that we're actually here. This is your premiere podcast.
Yes.
Called Joey Eye on the Prize. And I wanted to put up the YouTube page, but you gave a nice background where you're at today. Now, with this new outlet, what do you want to talk about from now on and going on to have this maybe a weekly, however way you want to have this structured? Where are you now in your career? Where would you like this podcast to go? Maybe interview some people. You tell us your thoughts on why you even agreed to do this. I know one thing is you're not shy. You could talk for 3 hours.
No, I never met a camera or a microphone I didn't like.
Obviously.
But what I'd like to do is obviously sit down and talk about current things with current fights coming up or that have happened. Sit down with people in the business that are former people in the business. Somebody might know, you know, a fighter, a trainer, a manager, a promoter, whatever, you know, and then current fighters, you know, and trainers and you know, so people that are in the business, we want to sit down and, like, as they say, chop it up, you know, just shoot the shit. And then other things. And I've got a million crazy stories of things that have happened at fights, out on the street, different things. I mean, we can, you know, like I said, I could talk for hours. You know, and then movies too. I mean, like I said, I've been involved forever with movie stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, I'd like maybe bring some people on that are in the movie business, singers, anybody that's, you know, any kind of, you know, because boxing's entertainment. And I even know, you know, like I said, I also do the cage fights and everything like that. So I have some of those guys I'd like to bring on, maybe some people from the commission, you know, sit down and talk about, you know, what's going on. And just, you know, like I said, just basically shoot the shit about boxing, movies, life, you know, like I said, we'll put it this way. As they say if you're in a bar, no religion, no politics, everybody gets along.
Exactly.
I think you don't want to care about who I pray to God to, or, well, like you just said, who I pray to, you know, or, you know, or who we're going to vote for, or all that other, none of that matters. What matters right now is today, here and now, and, you know, what we want to do and what we want to talk about. And, there's more to life than all that other stuff.
True. And I know your background about 10, 12 years ago, you had your own talk show in the Philadelphia market, which had its run. But the thing is, you had to have people actually come to the studio to interview them. Yeah. But now you understand the technology. They could be anywhere in the country.
Get somebody on the other side of the world to be on.
Now, look where I'm at. I have the background. I'm in California. You're back in Haddon Heights, and where I grew up.
You're like, it's nothing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So with you having an invitation to anybody you want to have on your next programs or next down the road, no matter where they're at. All they need is a good laptop, a good camera, and a microphone. We could have them on here, and basically, I could step aside, and we could have 2 or 3 other people, and you talk.
It's amazing the stuff that when I was doing my talk show, we had several different cameras, lighting, this, an audience. We were like, yeah, all right, we got to fill the place up. We got to have people come in. And then, yeah, like I said, and then I had to bring so many people in just to do a bunch of different shows to get them all together. And now, like you said, but we also, what I want to do is not be in the same location at all times. And we have a few other ideas that we worked on. So we have a few sponsors already. So 2 of the sponsors is Jimmy's Timeout Sports Bar in Northeast Philly. It's a boxing bar. My crew that we're together, we're called the Philadelphia Pugilist Association. We meet every Monday night, where I met you, Carl. And they're up there on Linden Ave, and they're going to be a sponsor, and we're going to do some stuff there. Do interviews with people, live interviews with people with me. And then we'll also there's another sponsor is Tommy's Original Barber Shop, and my middle son Jojo, he actually works there, and they invited us to come there and do sit down, do some podcasting in there also. So also another one that is we'd be able to do, and I think it would be cool because all of my stuff has been enshrined in the Philadelphia Italian Immigration Museum, and in South Philadelphia on Passyunk Avenue. And there again, there's that picture there. Yeah, that's just a minor part of what's in there. All of my stuff that's in there. So it'd be great to sit with the backdrop of that, and we could talk about some of the things, the pictures, and the different things that are on the walls and hanging up, and and the history of Italian immigration. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. They did this about 5 years ago and enshrined me. And I was like, that was like one of the biggest honors. I'm like, and they really didn't even know me. And they that whole room pretty much is to me, and it's called Living the American Dream, which I don't know if it's living the American dream. And sometimes it's the American nightmare. But that being said, it's wonderful that it's the tour. When people get the tour, it starts out with like Vespucci and Columbus and and comes all the way around, and it ends with me. So it's kind of cool. And so whenever they have children come in, grade school, high school, college, they'll have a group come in, maybe that's from their Italian club or whatever, or their history club, and they come in through the tour. They make sure in advance that I can make sure I'm there. And when they get to the end and they start showing, oh, this is Living the American Dream, and this is Joey I, blah, 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 and they start saying it, and they are looking, and and they love all the Rocky stuff and all the other stuff. And then all of a sudden I pop out and I give them a little speech. And it's a really, really great honor. I just gave one last week, and next week I have to do it again. Next month I have to do it again. So they line me up to come in there and do what I do, speak, talk. My big mouth, but I give them the whole, I show them all that I've done in my life with being the kid that grew up in a tough neighborhood that nobody said I was ever going to do anything. I wasn't going to make it. I mean, because, when I was a kid, I did get in a lot of trouble too. When I wasn't in the gym, I was probably out causing some kind of trouble. And, but boxing did help to kind of straighten me out. It builds character. And that's what I explain to these kids. Like, don't ever let anybody tell you can't do anything as long as it's legal. If you get an opportunity to do something, you take it and run with it. And, when it runs out, you move on to something else. But the worst thing in life is to have regrets. So never have any regrets. And worst thing that could happen if something didn't work out, it didn't work out. You move on, so don't be the woulda, shoulda, coulda guy.
Look at this opportunity that I had, that I have to really say, how, if I didn't actually meet with the great boxing promoter Russell Peltz in Philadelphia a month ago, and then very innocently that day when we were
could he come by, and I said,
he was asking like, well, will this be over by a certain time? I can meet my guys and blah blah blah. And I was with my cousin, and I go, do you mind if we come up and talk to you there? And he goes, no. And he actually, when he said you called, like that we were coming up,
he said, Joey, he said, you guys gonna be there? And I said, sure, we're every Monday night. He said, He said, okay. He said, would you mind? I go, yeah, come on up. And then he hung up and called me right back. He goes, but can you make sure it's okay? I said, well, what? What's okay? He said, well, the guy's going to, I'm doing my, I go, yeah, I heard you're going to do your podcast. He said, well, the guy's going to bring a camera. I go, don't worry about it. I'll tell the owner. And I, and I told him, I said, he goes, whatever they want to do. I said, right. And the guy, Jimmy's a great guy. He was.
And that's how I was able to get that one, video of you.
Yeah, and that was, when I met you, I said, yeah,
And we had a couple of conversations, and it's just like, hey, when you just talked about opportunity, and I figured, hey, people ask me, how did you get him? How did you? All you do is ask.
Yeah.
If he says no, okay, fine.
Right. It's just like meeting a hot girl. You know what I mean? Nobody. There was a girl in the neighborhood we used to live in, right? And in South Philly, and me and my wife. And there was this girl who looked like Pamela Anderson. I mean, better than, but she looked just like, right? She always walked around with her head down, right? And nobody would say anything to her, but everybody was staring at her, And I remember one time I'm like standing at the front door, and she comes walking down, and one of the neighbor ladies says to my wife, "Hey, Nancy, your husband's looking at it. What you call, And my wife goes, I don't blame him. I am too. Look how pretty she is. And nobody ever would even, you never saw her with a guy. I don't think anybody had the guts to approach her. And, but that's the same way. Like if all you got to do, if you want to ask somebody something, go up and ask them. What's the worst they could tell you? I mean, they could tell you go F off. You know what I mean? So what? I
can't tell you how many times I heard that too.
Sure. Right. Me too, Christ. But I've been approached over the years. There's so many different genres of what I do. Like I'm in the auto salvage business. So somebody came to me and I met them through something else I was doing. Somebody was getting filmed for some other thing for HBO. And these people that work for HBO said, yo, we want to do a reality show about you with your business. And I said, okay. And I said, why not? Filmed the whole thing, this and that. And then the people didn't get the copyright when they did it. And somebody stole it. And it actually became some other show, which was really a goofy show, but somebody had stole, somebody came to me, same thing about follow me with the fights and this and that. And then another one they did, there was it was supposed to be that ESPN 30 for 30. And they followed me for a year. And they begged me. The guy said, can I come and see you at work the fights? And I said, you can do whatever you want. It's a free country. I said, but I've been down this road before. And he said, no, this is for, I go, I know ESPN 30 for 30, whatever. And the guy, they followed me around for almost a year. And then right when they were getting near to be done with it, the pandemic hit. Everything shut down. And then that just went, but no harm, no foul, and you never know. You know what I mean? One door, like I said, one door closed, another one opens. You never know. I mean, you take the opportunities and stuff, and you meet different people that you might not have met if you didn't do that. Like, out of sight, out of mind. If you ain't out there doing it, nobody's going to know or care who the hell you are.
So very intrigued and happy that you have some sponsors lined up and actually to go on the road and talk to some people. And so probably you might have episode 2 through 5 already thought in your head where you want to go and who you're going to talk to, right?
I have one I've thought about. I was eating dinner with my wife at a really great restaurant in South Philly called Noir. It's right near that Italian museum. And a friend of mine, he has a podcast, not like a podcast, but a thing about, it's about fixing up businesses, that restaurants, like their menus, not so much the decor. And he loves this restaurant. And I said, you know what if we went in there and sat in the back, and eat and have a meal and sit down and talk about food and stuff too, and fights, because he had been a fighter. Me and him used to spar each other when we were young and everything. We're real good friends. But we were thinking, I thought of that just the other night, Saturday night or whatever. Yeah, Saturday night. I just sitting there and I'm looking around, and they know me there. They treat us well and everything. So I thought, hey, if we went in there and we sat down and who knows, maybe they become a sponsor too. But we had an idea, there's something you can sit down and, really talk about, different ways of, say making macaroni or something, whatever,
Well,
but,
you know the criteria you need for a remote. They have to have, first of all, really good internet access, a good camera, and a good microphone, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
So you see the potential of this, really?
Oh yeah, we can go anywhere. We might be able to do stuff at the fights. we sit back, maybe I got something where it doesn't happen much, but say I only had one fight to work. And I know that. We go there, we set up, boom, be in the locker room. We could be, behind the scenes. We could do something way ahead of time, just sitting in the ring, whatever. I mean, like you said, it's wide open.
Well, maybe we could get a budget. I might actually have to come back and actually produce it live in front of you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Well, that's what we're all doing here. And really, we wouldn't be able to get started, but this is why we have this first one. For people who may not know you, that because I'm out here in California, I have some people out here that are all intrigued. Well, Carl, how do you know these people? Well, one thing leads to another. You meet this one, you meet that one. It's that, that whole thing about that Kevin
Bacon. Something out by you a few years ago called Mark's Place.
Yeah,
in Palm Springs. Right? Sonny Veloso. Yeah, I had to play a Joe Pesci type character, like he was in Casino, and so I'm out in the desert screaming at a guy just like in the movie, screaming at him, "Don't you ever go over my head again!" All that stuff. And but man, is it hot out there! I tell you, we had to shoot. They had a drone, but we had to shoot at 6 o'clock in the morning because if not, and this was in October, if not, the drone would have melted any later in the day. I said, "Oh my God!" And we were out there like melting, But
yeah,
we were out there.
That's the one thing. June, July, August, it does get really hot, and it's actually in the low 90s again.
Yeah.
So my roommate just had you mind if we put the air on? Of course, put it on. We need it, but the nights are beautiful. So,
it's beautiful from your car and from the window. You go out, you're like hits you with like an oven. But I have a story for that one. When I was out there, I actually got to use my cut man skills, and it wasn't in the ring. I saved the guy's life on the street.
Wow.
We were filming at there's a bar out there, something called the Hideout. Something I forget what the hell it's called. Some like Charlie's Hideout or some shit like that, right? Sinatra used to hang there, and they called it his hideout or some shit, right? But we were doing a scene with a pool table where I'm like, like ready to shove a pool stick down somebody's throat, and we get done. And we had to go somewhere else to film something. So we're outside and there was a guy that had been in the bar, and he was an older guy, shaved head, and he was limping. And he walked out, and he had just got some food or whatever. And he was going to his car, and I'm talking to somebody, and I'm changing my shirt, and I hear this thud, just like a wham, and the guy tripped and fell and hit the back of his head on one of those concrete parking pylons, and he was like out, and blood just gushing out the back of his head. Head looked like a cantaloupe, and ran over. And a woman that I knew that she was from the area, she's from Cherry Hill. She was a nurse, an ER nurse, and she we both ran over there, and I said right away, I said, you work on waking them up. I said, let me work on the cut here. And I yelled, I told Sonny, a couple other people, I said, get me some towels, get me this, whatever. And waitress came out from the bar, from the restaurant. And I said, you serve food in there? She goes, yeah. I said, go in there. I said, you got any spices? I said, you got turmeric? You got ginger? She goes, yeah, we got ginger. I said, go get the ginger. She said, what for? Just get it. And she's going, why would I listen? What do you, the nurse turns around and goes, whatever he tells you to do, do it. And she goes, what? He's just some gangster. She goes, no, he's playing a gangster in the movie. He knows what he's doing. And she came back with the ginger, pop, boom, boom, put it in the cut, got it to stop. And there's a lot of spices and different natural things you can use to stop. Not allowed to use them in fights, but there's a lot of natural things that you can use. And we got him, because he was gurgling, he was a half out of it, got some ice on him. She's talking to him. We got him to sit up, came back, and I closed it all up. And, he's not bleeding anymore. And Sonny and a couple people said, wow, I got to see you do your job, and I didn't even have to come and pay for a ticket at a fight. And I said, no. And then the ambulance comes up, and they see all this blood all over, and they're looking. The guys are like scratching their heads going, where did all this blood come from? From him. And they were like, where? Back of his head. They're like, but it's all closed up now. How's that back together? And I said, I did that. And they were like, how did you do that? I'm a cut man. They go, so you just go around and find people laying on the ground bleeding? I said, no, I'm in boxing. I'm with, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, and I said, so everybody's standing around, and the guy, and he was coherent and everything. They were like, my God, he lost a lot of blood. I said, yeah, I know. So by the time they got me what I needed, so they got him in the ambulance, and they were like, wow, they were like, so that you use ginger to do it? I said, yeah. I said, yeah, you guys would be good to keep that in the damn ambulance. And they were like, yeah, you're right. You know, so we get done. I go in, I go to clean my hands, go inside, and I see the waitress, and I said, do you realize what you almost did? And she's like, I didn't know. I go, yeah, you stereotyped me. I'm playing a character in a movie, and you said, and where would you get your balls anyway? Friggin' say I really was what you think I am. Don't you think, where do you think you'd be at right now? You'd be in a hole somewhere. I said, I told you, I asked you to get something, and you don't want to do it. I said, the guy could have died. And they were like, I said, you know what the moral of the story is? She goes, no, but you're going to tell me. I said, don't judge a book by its cover. She's like, yeah, and she goes, well, I don't know what a cut man was. I said, well, you better go out more, get out of these places and just being in this bar. And but I was like, I kind of gave it to her and stuck it to her. But yeah. And, it was great. It was great that I got the, and that's what it's like in the fights. Like, you got a guy's like career and his life in your hands, and that's other things we can talk about. I mean, I got a story where a guy lost a finger.
Well, we're going to have many, many more episodes. Yeah. Let me ask you this. What do you think on the schedule wise weekly? You think you're going to do 1 or 2 a week?
Yeah, we could probably get that in there. Yeah.
The great thing about doing this is the pre-production and the post-production also, not only doing that. So when we're going to be talking off camera about what he has planned and then we can structure it, I kind of really enjoy doing all the pre and then the post after that. So people who are just watching us now that just look, I'm introducing Joey I, who I met a couple of weeks ago back in Philadelphia. He was a cut man, but he was also in a lot of the Rocky movies and Creed. But he's also having this podcast and on his own official YouTube page. So once this is up and running, you could check out the YouTube page, Joey I on the prize. All we ask is you go up there. If you like, comment, subscribe. And maybe down the road, we can actually be live one day somewhere and people could comment on it live. So This is why we're all here. I love producing, directing this. I love, having a great content, someone who's really fascinating. And obviously we didn't even hit, scratch the surface on anything. But, we got a couple minutes left until we want to close on this first one. So in closing, what do you want to mention? Maybe the people to look forward to in the next couple ones and, from there.
Yeah, like I said, well, upcoming ones, like I said, I would like to have my good friend Chris D'Agostino on. He's a food connoisseur, and like I said, we used to train and spar together years ago. Also, like I said, I want to have a few of the Pennsylvania Boxing Commission officials that I work with very well. In the discussion with him, I'm calling him up. Good friend of mine that most people would know is Ray Boom Boom Mancini. So he'd be great, and between the two of us, you probably, I don't know who gets the word in edgewise there, but
I would be off stage back behind you and like just giving you a time count. Like run out of time. Yes.
Yeah. Also like waiting for that hook to get me, you know what I mean? But so there's many people that we'd like to get to come on. That again, a few people like in the movie business also, which Ray Mancini is in the movie business also. That's how we got to know each other, by doing a few movies years ago. But just even some local people that in different businesses and stuff in the area and stuff that maybe we could help them out by helping to push their business and get them some business.
It'd be a great opportunity for a business. We could actually give them a little, some time. Sure. If they have a little commercial, a little video, we can play that and actually do.
Love to get my buddy up there. The Knicks. The Knicks got a great stand where they got great food. You know what I mean?
Please, Joey. We would want Star Trek. Transport a sandwich to me, please.
Yeah, right, yeah. Like I think I told you, the owner who has it now. He used to work for me when he was a kid. Wow. So when I was a cement contractor for years in South Philly, and so it's like a little circle of
I have to say one thing. When you use the word cement, my dad, what do you think? Was 592, worked 40 years. I got in construction. It's concrete, buddy. My dad would always say, cement.
I
Cement
didn't just
comes in a bag.
I didn't just do concrete. That's the point. I was
I
a
know.
cement mason. I wasn't just a concrete guy. I did
I know.
brick, block, stucco, stone, digging out cellars, so I did it. I was basically a cement mason. So I did
Yeah.
it all. Again, just like everything else. I don't just do one thing. I didn't listen to my grandfather when I was a kid. He always said, do one thing and do it well. Well, I try to do everything I'm going to do to my best of my ability. I've never tried anything that I didn't think or know that I knew I was going to be able to do the right way.
Well, here's a message that you could have out here to people you still know here in California, rather than have a local show in Philly. Here, this has nationwide and worldwide, and I want to say, to wrap it up, I want to say thank you very much for allowing me to do your premiere one and have this, focus on what we want to do for your, YouTube page, and any other sponsors to come along. We'd love to have them come along, and however you want to produce it and where he wants to go, I'm ready, buddy.
And I got a few other movie things that are coming up. So I mean, we'll be able to talk about doing a comedy that we're hoping to have put out on Netflix called The Sharkey Twins.
Cool.
Where my short little self and Sonny Velozzi, who you met, who's over 6 foot tall, we're supposed to be twin brothers. So, and we're like these slimy little pool hustling little wannabe gangsters. And but we always wind up with the raw end of the stick. And then I was just hired to be in a short film called The Wise Guys of Washington Ave. And if people don't know what that Washington Ave is that's right the hub of the Italian market in Washington.
Is Giordano still there?
Sure. Yep. They are still there. Yep. Thriving. And a friend of mine, Vince Minetti, he wrote it and he's directed. So he asked me to play. And it was funny when he had me on the phone, they asked me to do it. I said, oh, okay. So it's a mom movie. I said, so let me guess my character. You want me to play a doctor, right? And he was, we don't have you want to play it? I go, Vince, it's a joke. I said, it's a joke. When have I ever played it? Why would I play a doctor? Of course you want me to play, let me guess, a gangster all dressed in black. He goes, you got it. I said, right. I said, so I don't have a problem with that. I say, I'm probably not doing anything good for our culture, the Italians, because everything just thinks, all Italians are in the mob and all that stuff. And, but
you just said something. You got your T-shirt on, got cuts.
Yeah,
you're a doctor of cuts.
You got it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There's a new logo. There's a new logo for you, Doctor of Cuts.
Yeah.
All right, Joey, we're going to wrap up this premiere podcast. I think it was really enjoyable. We only scratched the surface, trying to give a little bit of background on you, but we're going to be looking forward to the next ones. And I know this will be up on the platforms, YouTube and Facebook, probably within 24 hours. And we're going to end up having a schedule what you're going to have, for the remaining maybe November and December till through the end of the year. And then who knows what 25 is going to bring. So, Joey, I want to thank you very much for coming on here, having our first one. We're going to show a little bit of closing credits, and we'll be saying goodbye till next time.